Yes, you're all very welcome to this Environmental Services Committee meeting here in the Town Hall in Enniskillen on Wednesday, the 7th of May 2025. And I'm joined by members in the chamber and by Councillor Fitzgerald and Councillor Hawkes on WebEx. First item on the agenda, apologies, and I have an apology for Councillor Stephen Donnelly. Councillor Maguire.
Apology for Councillor Hayes.
Okay.
I do believe Councillor Coyle's joining online. She may be just delayed slightly.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Councillor Elliott might be at 7:30 before he'll join us, I think.
Okay.
Councillor Hawkes is online.
Yep, she is, yep. Thank you. Yeah, that's all the apologies. Okay, item 2, to sign minutes of previous meeting held on the 2nd of April 2025, and that was done before we started the meeting. Item 3, any declarations of interest? Does anybody indicate? Okay. Okay, moving on to reports for decision. 4, Community and Wellbeing Director reports. 4.1, to consider report on street naming and numbering, due language signage, and as previous, if we have all read the report, could I get a proposer and seconder? And of course, with the dissent of the DUP and the UP, so a proposer and seconder, please. Councillor McCardle and Councillor Maguire. And we're all agreed? Okay. Okay, Councillor McLaury, just be brief, okay?
Okay, just wondering how many road names are left in the backlog to be cleared, and obviously we're seeing there's a larger and larger every week now. Every month there's more people have no interest, and we're just wondering how long is there still the same volume of requests coming in, and how long would it be till we clear this? And don't necessarily need it for this meeting, if it could come at a later meeting.
Okay, thank you. John, do you want to come in?
Chair, the volume of requests coming in has certainly slowed up. I know there's still a number of 100 roads still to be assessed. We try and get around about 10 roads per month. And it all depends, I suppose, on the number of people who are on the electoral register and things like that associated with the amount of work that is involved in it. So we get through about 120 per year. Which would leave it at least, I would imagine, 2.5 years before the backlog would be cleared. But I can bring the definitive figures in the next reporting period.
Yep. Thank you for that, John. Okay, so that's been proposed and seconded, and with the dissent from the DUP and UP, and we're all agreed. Thank you. Item 4.2, to consider report on street naming and numbering, paper B, and again with the previous paper, I take it we've all read it. Could I get a proposer and seconder? Councillor McGrath and Councillor Maguire. All agreed? Thank you. Now, item 5, Environment and Place Director reports. 5.1, to consider report on estate matters, paper C. That's over to you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is the monthly report on estate matters, so some items for decision in section 2 and a number of items for information in section 3. The first of these relates to a lease with Legacy Fermanagh District Council and the surrender of that lease. The legal formalities, there had been work done on this back in 2014 prior to the formation of Fermanagh District Council. Legalities weren't progressed at that time, and it's therefore recommended that the council will surrender two portions of lands at the Commons and Maguire's Bridge, subject to an LPS assessment to enable those lands to now transfer to DFI Road Service, or DFI Roads, I should say, to complete the transfer that was anticipated back in 2014. I say this is very much it's a regularisation exercise rather than any sort of loss of amenity of council lands. 2.2 then, members will be aware that we have agreed a lease with Friends of Loch McCrory for a portion of lands at Ballybrack. The group have requested consent to apply for some grant funding, and it's recommended that we would grant approval for that request, and said that would be standard within the lease arrangements. Then some use of lands of council properties at section 2.3. I'll not go through them all there. Members, they're set out in the report, and then retrospective approvals for use of council property at 2.41 to 2.44. At section 3, then a number of requests again for information from Fintna Regeneration Initiative and Euro Carrickmore Hurling and Camogie Club, both of whom have 99-year leases of council land, and both have indicated that they intend to apply for the capital's strategic capital funding programme to assist with works at either site. So again, just that confirmation has been provided by officers, as would be the normal case in terms of those leases. And then 3.4 there sets out the sealing of documents. Members, and again, I won't read through all of those. So the recommendation is set out as section 9, that the council approves surrender of leasehold interest in 2 portions of land at the Commons Maguires Bridge, subject to an LPS assessment to enable the transfer of lands to DFI Roads for road widening and development of a park and ride facility. Approves the request from Friends of Loch McCrory under the terms of its lease of lands at Ballybrack Road in Loch McCrory to develop changing rooms with support space and multi-sports handball complex and the spectator stand, subject to compliance with all necessary statutory approvals. Then the use of council property is specified within the report. Retrospective use of council property is set out within the report. And then at 9.2, the council notes a request from Fintna Regeneration Initiative and from Euro Carrickmore Hurling and Camogie Club, both of them applying for strategic capital funding. And then submission of the use of council venues, an application for worship on the streets event, and finally the sealing of documents is set out within the report, members.
Thank you, John. Councillor Fitzgerald on WebEx. I think you're on mute there, Anne-Marie.
Yes, I want to propose the members just, I see there was 2 there in my area report. Those are brought a huge amount of money to the area, a lot of fundraising there, so that's welcome.
Okay, so you're coming in to propose, Anne-Marie, was it?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that's proposed by Councillor Fitzgerald. Could I get a seconder? Councillor Robinson, and all agreed? Thank you. Item 5.2, to consider a report on household recycling centres, paper D. That's back to you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Members, 3 items within this report relating to household recycling centres. First item is for decision in respect of Lisbon Household Recycling Centre, and then 2 other items just for information in respect of Connolly HRC, and then an update on a recent study visit to Ballou Household Recycling Centre in Ards and North Down Borough Council. So members, 2.1 sets out the relevant facts in relation to Lisbon Household Recycling Centre. Members, you'll be familiar with the background to this, and the report sets out those facts. In October of last year, the council had to, with immediate effect, implement a closure of Lisbon Household Recycling Centre on the basis of health and safety grounds, and that had been following our own corporate health and safety inspections and also engagement with HSE, NI and wider Northern Ireland health and safety campaigns. The report sets out the background to how the HRC and Lisbon came into being. It's over 40 years ago now. The governance and the licensing framework, the requirement for an NIEA waste management license for any site that receives household recycling. Then some information, and this background information really in respect of the performance of HRCs and the council's provision for household recycling centres right across the district, and some previous investment that the council has made into that important element of our waste and recycling operations. Members, and when the decision to close the site was communicated to members in October of last year, at the first opportunity it was discussed then at the Environmental Services, and then subsequently the council meeting at the start of November, and then subsequently in December. And on both of those occasions, members had asked that there would be a full options appraisal report brought back. So we have used that intervening period of time to complete that options appraisal, and Appendix 1 to the report sets out the detail of that options appraisal process. Officers worked through and identifying a number of different options, and that was very much in line with good practice around preparations of an options appraisal, and in line with guidance and advice from, I know it's not directly applicable to local government, but like the Department of Finance, as to, the status quo about the sort of do minimum, do maximum, and other options that maybe deliver the outcomes that were anticipated, or the outcomes that were desired. So we've been through that process over the course of the last 6 months. We're aware that the decision to close the household recycling centre in October of last year came as unexpected news to many of the residents, and has undoubtedly had an impact on some residents within the district. We have taken account of those concerns and of the feedback from members, and also from residents, some of which we've seen, has been through contact with their own officers, and also in terms of the discussion within online forum facilitated by residents within the Lisbon area. I know there were a number of concerns, particularly back in October of last year, that the closure of the household recycling centre may result in an increase in fly tipping incidences. Thankfully, that hasn't been the case. We did and continue to have thorough monitoring processes in place in terms of our inspection teams and the street orderlies out across the district, and certainly I've checked as recently as end of last week, and there has been no reported increase in fly tipping, and in fact there's very little evidence of fly tipping within Lisbon generally, either prior to the closure of the household recycling centre, and indeed in the 6 months since the household recycling centre closed. And that's testimony, I suppose, to the way in which residents within within the village and within the surrounding area make use of all of the services that are provided by council, whether it's alternate household recycling centres in Lisnaskea, in Tempo, and indeed in Dramee, and indeed also making best use of the household, the domestic refuse collection services that the council provides on a weekly basis. So I said the full detail of the options appraisal is set out in Appendix 1, members. And the preferred option then is that we would continue on the basis of the health and safety risks posed by the existing site, which have, despite our best efforts to look at mitigations for them, that the existing site would remain closed. We have, as part of the options appraisal, looked at other alternatives, which would have included the potential to expand the footprint of the existing site, and that's been discounted on the basis that it's of the limited availability of the land within that vicinity. And we've also looked at, and this was one of the suggestions that came from members and also came from residents, about looking at the possibility of alternative sites within the village and within the immediate sort of hinterland of the village. I think one of the constraints in that regard is that obviously once you move more than a couple of miles, first of all, once you move outside of the village limits, you're into a rural setting, and then once you move more than a couple of miles in any direction, you then end up closer to an existing household recycling centre in the likes of particularly Lisnaskea and across in Tempo as well. Members, you'll see a lot of the information within the options appraisal. So we say we have looked at the geographic setting of the site. We've looked at other spatial provision and particularly those residents who live within 2 miles of a household recycling centre, 5 miles and 10 miles. And we're at 98% of all residents across the district living within 10 miles of a household recycling centre, and that would continue to be the case even after the closure of Lisbon, or within the context even of the current closure of Lisbon. You'll also see then we looked at the potential to remodel the existing site by removing or displacing some of the materials that were currently received onto the site. And I suppose even in looking at reconfiguring that, and you'll see within the next part of the report, we've looked at that for Cannolly as well, that in Lisbon, reconfiguring the site will not address the fundamental health and safety risk, which is that it's a single width road, which requires a reversing manoeuvre by HGVs over a distance of more than 300 metres, with parked cars on either side and with a busy commercial premises on Station Road. So I said there are fundamental health and safety risks which it's impossible to overcome simply by reconfiguring what's received within the site. So I said, regrettably, members, the preferred outcome, or the preferred option, as recommended within the report, is that we would close the existing site, continue with the existing closure, but look at some additional provisions as suggested by the local community in terms of glass bottling or glass bottle recycling facilities located within on the edge of the village on Faughard Road. Members, I'm sure there will be questions. I know members will probably want to come in on that, but I'll just maybe finish off the other 2 parts of the report as well then, if you don't mind. And that's for information in regard to Cannolly Household Recycling Centre. Again, as part of the same health and safety executive inspection regime in 24-25, HSENI inspectors were out at Cannolly, had identified a number of risks associated with that site, and said the risks associated with that site are similar to those in Lisbon. It was to do with the physical location, the size and the layout of the site. In this particular instance, by reconfiguring the site, we have been able to mitigate the risk and again still maintain a presence at Cannolly HRC, but by removing some of those waste streams that take up a significant or have a significant footprint on the site, which will allow us to implement a safe traffic management plan and segregate visitors and vehicles that are on the site. And then finally, members, the 7 members participated in a study visit to Baloo Household Recycling Centre, and this was as part of our investigatory work around the introduction of an online booking system. So some of the key learning points coming out of that study visit are reflected in section 3.2 of the report there, and certainly officers will be incorporating those learning points into our own work to implement an online booking system during or later this financial year 25-26. So members, the recommendations are as set out then within the report that Council approves the surrender of the waste management licence for Lisbon Household Recycling Centre, and the Council notes the update in respect of waste and recycling streams accepted at Cannolly HRC and the recent study visit by members to Baloo Household Recycling Centre.
Thank you for that, John. Councillor Crawford first.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank Director John Hughes for his report, and there's an awful lot in that and a lot of options. I suppose to start with, if I may, I've received an awful lot of concerns from residents in Lisbon, and indeed Councillor Irvine has likewise, and I suppose feeding into that, the reality is on the ground, and I know there has been the community survey done, which I haven't seen the findings of, so I don't know what the general census is, but the feedback I'm getting is they would like some form of a HRC retained, and I'm quite aware of the concerns of, I suppose, locating and getting a suitable site. But I wonder is it something that the council can monitor and review over a period of time just to see is there another site or some form of a site can be located to serve the need. It is a growing town, and it's a town no different than any other village. You know, certainly there's a good working community group there. They value themselves and looking after the village in great pride, and they have been awarded in the past for that, and they need to be commended for it. But I suppose I can't fully support the recommendation simply because I can't go against the people who feel that they're being robbed of a facility that they're entitled to. And I understand the background and the health and safety concerns, but it may be, I suppose, what I'm getting back is the likes of grass cuttings, hedge cuttings, those bulky things that they need to get rid of. Not everybody has access to a trailer and so on to dispose of that. So all that is valid. I'm aware of, I suppose, bigger plans within your directive of rolling out the provision of brown bins. That may help maybe in the short term, but I suppose that'll come in trial. But I suppose that's just the concerns that I have, and unfortunately I can't support the recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just want to agree with nearly everything there that Councillor Crawford has said. Clearly, there is a lot of frustration that this situation has endured, and that there's a lot of impact on the people that are living in the area. That, you know, they're feeling the impact of this, and they want to have a solution which meets their needs in the area. Appreciate that the work has gone into providing us with this options paper, and you know, clearly there are a number of things which are in front of us here which we might consider. I don't feel comfortable proceeding on the closure of Lisblaw HRC at this stage. I feel that we have to do everything that we can to look at all options, including the expansion of the existing site, or perhaps the location of another site. So I think, you know, we're not given at this stage any facts or figures in terms of the costings of these things or the potential for these. We understand that there are potential risks involved or costings involved that might not be affordable for the council, but we have to explore those options in full. So I think, would it be possible for the directors to go back and provide us with a more detailed look at some of these other options, including costings, including the likelihood of finding another site? Is that something that we could have a look at before we make a decision on this? I'll make that proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll just take the rest of the speakers, or do you want to come in now, John? Yeah, come in. Yeah, go on ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sure there's probably other speakers, but maybe just so I don't lose any of the points there. Councillor Crawford had mentioned about the waste streams and about garden waste. You'll see within the options appraisal, one of the things that we had looked at was the nature of the waste streams that are currently. So garden waste wouldn't have been a waste stream that was accepted in the list below anyway. So that, in fact, I don't think that was a consideration. You can see from the options appraisal that 74% of the waste into list below in 23-24. So that was the last full year of operation, was actually residual household waste. So that, I mean, obviously we provide a fortnightly residual collection service for that. I suppose probably also just worth noting that we're anticipating that when the DAERA Minister makes an announcement on a future waste management strategy, that's likely to include proposals around a restriction of household residual waste going forward as part of Northern Ireland's commitment to increasingly ambitious recycling targets over the next number of years. Members also referenced the provision that the council has made within its medium-term capital plan to explore the rollout of brown bins across all of the district. As you know, there's about 50% or just over 50% of households across the district have the smaller food category. And members, as part of the estimates process, have included a provision that we would look at a business case, again subject to the waste management strategy, and we're expecting to have further information or an announcement by the Minister on that later this year. But subject to that, we're continuing to progress the development of a business case for the rollout of brown bins across all households. So certainly that will help as well in terms of increasing additional recycling capacity into all households right across the district. Members asked about, I suppose, the detailed costings on other sites. I suppose we did look at the possibility and the potential to expand the site. You're right, we haven't gone as far as being able to work up detailed costings for a site. And part of that is that there are always going to be unknowns in that regard. First would be that if you're looking to expand the site, just be mindful that there are landowners there, and none of those landowners have land for sale at the minute. So it's very difficult to put a costing onto what the value of land would be in that regard. But land very rarely comes free, and then you're into engineering and of costs. And I said, in terms of an expansion of the existing site, really the only thing that will change it will be a new road to allow a one-way system into that. So we're into very significant amounts of money. And as we've noted within the options appraisal at this stage, I suppose you're then into considerations around the value for money of that, given the contribution that the volume of waste that's currently collected through Lisbon Household Recycling Centre, which isn't to underestimate the importance of that service to residents within the Lisbon area and within the village town currently. And looking at other sites, again, as part of this options appraisal, we have looked at other public lands that are available within the Lisbon area, and indeed other lands that are currently for sale within the Lisbon area. I suppose what we would say is that the current site, as we've noted within the options appraisal, was developed over 40 years ago under what was known as permitted development. So it was before the current legislative framework and licensing arrangements came into being, and it has the site has persisted in operation over that period of time under, say, what's known as permitted development. A relocation of the site of a household recycling centre to a new site, and indeed the expansion of the existing site onto a new footprint, both of those options will require a new licensing application to be submitted, because it would no longer be a permitted development, it would be a new development. So it will be subject to, there would be additional statutory processes that would be required to be gone through. None of those would be guaranteed to be successful. So it said we have taken account of some of those risks and uncertainties around statutory approvals, be that planning, be that environmental consents, be that objections from neighbours who might then see a proposal for a household recycling centre to be located adjacent to their own property. So I think while we understand that I suppose Lisbon as a community was content with the existing household recycling centre in the place where it is, as we've explained within the options appraisal, the existing site is unsafe, and the recommendation to close it in October of last year has been validated through the options appraisal. That was the correct decision in October last year. It remains the correct decision to keep that closed. I suppose what we were then looking at was any additional mitigations that could be brought into play, and I say very much trying to take account of some of the feedback that we were seeing from local communities around, other mitigations. So things like, what's happening in the wider waste strategy front around residual household waste, what's happening in the wider waste front around provision of additional capacity for brown bins, and then looking at additional provision around bottle banks within the village as well, which seemed to be something that certainly I know some people had suggested in the community survey. I think that hopefully that's just the points I made. I'll let the other members come in there.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Councillor Elliott on WebEx.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, I've obviously listened to what has been said here. I too would have concerns, obviously, about this site. Obviously, there's a health and safety issue there, and there's obviously nothing for the signs of things that can be done to change that on the present site. But Councillor Brown made a proposal there, sort of to maybe to look further into this, and I would be happy enough to second that. Obviously been lobbied hard about this as well. Now, I know concerns with regard to grass cuttings and things like that, and I appreciate I've listened to what you had to say tonight there, John. But I think we need a rollout of the larger brown bin. I think that would some of the people I have spoke to would be content with that. So they would, and obviously the bottle bank provision and things like that. But again, I do believe there is still a bit of scope there to be looked at for a possible another site, and a wee bit more work maybe done on that, and defer it for now, and we'll get a look at it again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McArdle.
Thank you, Chair. Just to talk on the Kinolly issue there, I know health and safety is very important, but really unhappy that we have to give up anything like hard plastics and paint and stuff like that. There's more or less like on the list below thing there. I'd like to think that we could look into that to the farmer beside the recycling centre there. Would it be possible maybe to approach him and look further into this? Because the recycling centre's there, it's just not like this below looking for a new site. Recycling centre is there, and it's a very busy site. And I want to compliment Oliver McGovern, who looks after that site. He keeps it very clean. I know it was mentioned that John had mentioned there in this below there was no cases of fly tipping. I was in contact with the council here last week about serious issues in the Kinolly area of fly tipping. I reported that in there. So to lose anything in the recycling centre in Kinolly, this is another problem. That are we going to see increase of fly tipping? Which I'd love to think we wouldn't have. So I just propose like that we look into further into maybe approaching the farmer beside the recycling centre in Kinolly there to see would he be willing to give up a wee bit of land, live it a wee bit easier, maybe for the lorries and stuff like that to pull in, or to hold where the hard plastics and paint and all could be stored there out of the way. And thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you want to come back in there, John, at any point?
So just two things. So in terms of the Kinolly site, so it's just to stress that the proposals that we're looking at are very much operational in nature, and it's about the continued safe operation of Kinolly. So there's no suggestion in the report, the Kinolly report, that there's any closure on it. What we're looking at it's a general tidy up of the site. It's trying to free up as much space, and they said the team have looked at the materials that are coming on, they're coming into the site, and what we can remove off the site to maximise the space that would be available to allow for safe movement. So, I suppose the separate suggestion about the potential to explore an expansion of the site. Obviously, we don't have any. There's no financial provision for an expansion of the site. I suppose that's something that certainly I think that we could continue to look at in terms of our acquisition and disposal process. Where we can if there's an identified business need. So, certainly happy to take that away and to look at that further in terms of that as a site. But just I suppose to reassure the member that Kinolly is it makes an important contribution into our overall household recycling centre offer, but I suppose our primary responsibility in that regard is always towards the health and safety of our staff and then the health and safety of users and the public and residents who are coming onto those sites. And I think particularly given the feedback and the engagement that we've had with Health and Safety Executive over the course of the last year and their particular focus on workplace transport safety, that content that the proposals that we've set out for Connolly will have a minimal impact on sites. As with all of our sites, our staff are out on the ground on a day and daily basis, and if we will continue to monitor for fly tipping, and if there are reports of fly tipping, we will seek to take enforcement action where it's at all possible in that respect, but then also that we will move to clear up fly tipping as quickly as possible as well, and with commitments around how quickly we aim to do that. I suppose if I'm going back to Councillor Elliott's comment, just another, it seconded Councillor Brown's proposal about looking at an alternative site. I suppose what I'd maybe suggest, members, is that looking at an alternative site actually isn't an alternative site, as I've said, would require a fresh licensing process. So the recommendation in this report is to surrender the waste management license for Lisbon Household Recycling Centre. That's site specific. I think what we've tried to demonstrate through this options appraisal is that the current site is not sustainable as a household recycling centre. So even to expand the footprint of the site would require a new waste management license application because it'll be a different site at that particular point in time. So it's the waste management license as it currently stands, as I understand it, is linked to the site as it's currently envisaged. So if we look to move to a different location, we will then have to make a fresh application to NIEA for a new waste management license. We wouldn't simply be able to assign the existing waste management license to a different site or a different location.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, so we have a proposal from Councillor Brown and second by Councillor Elliott, and kind of taking that proposal that we adopt the rest of the recommendations, but just defer the decision of Lisbon Law. Is that correct? Yeah. You happy enough with that, Councillor Brown? And happy enough with that, Councillor Elliott? Yeah, and we're all agreed? Yeah, thank you. Oh, Councillor Feely, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Decky made a proposal there, didn't he? If he's looking for a second, I can second it.
All right, yeah. Councillor McGardle's proposal was to, yeah.
Chair, if I could suggest maybe if the proposal was framed as that we would explore options around the site size of Connolly, I would be reluctant to get into any specifics on a recommendation about what that would look like, and any consideration in that regard would be in the context of the council's estate strategy and our acquisition and disposal policy.
Okay. They'll move on. Yep. Okay. Okay. Now on to report. Councillor Robinson.
You may be a bit latitude here. I just want to ask the Director, John Hughes, for information on waste that comes into Dromee and recycling waste and materials that comes in, like washing machines, fridges and stuff like that there. Can we get a cost on all that kind of stuff that comes in, what we have to pay to get it away and stuff that we're making money on, like scrap metal, we make money on it. I want to know what the other stuff we have to pay for. We're making anything on them at all. Can that be done, John?
Through the Chair, yes, we're certainly happy to bring back a report on our waste contracts. It's some are very significant. I suppose what I would say, members, is it may be a report that we'll need to bring back in confidential business to a future meeting, just given the commercial nature of some of those contracts.
Okay, happy enough, Paul? Okay, thank you. Okay, reports for information. Item 6, Community and Wellbeing Directorate Report. 6.1, to note report on building control and licensing 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2025, paper E. And if we've all read it and there's no real comment, could I get a proposer and second, Councillor Robinson, and second by Councillor McLaury. Thank you. Okay, item 7, Environment Place Director Report 7.1 to no report on municipal cemeteries performance 2024 to 2025. Paper F, and that's you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is really, it's a for information report, as you see within you. It's an update on the performance of cemeteries across the district. The council's 5 municipal cemeteries is set out within the report at Brendrum Cross Cemetery, both in Enniskillen, then Dublin Road and Greenhill in Omagh, and Fintona Cemetery in Fintona. The report provides an overview of the number of interments and plots sold, both the residents, as you can see, is primarily the residents across the last financial year, and then the location of where those activities have taken place. The report also sets out some information on the current capacity of our cemeteries estate and the number of available plots within each of those cemeteries. As you'll note, Brendrum and Dublin Road are both classified as closed insofar as there are no further plots available for purchase in either location, so burials are only permitted on previously purchased plots, and that then informs the remaining capacity. The other sites are Greenhill, Cross and Fintona. You can see the capacity is set out, and certainly on the basis of the current level of interments and plots being sold, that there is reasonable capacity there, certainly over the medium term. And then finally, members, within the report, just a brief update on the work that's been progressing over the last couple of years in respect of the development of a crematorium at Greenhill Cemetery. Members of council have previously approved the development of a full business case in December 2022. So over the intervening 2 years, we've been working progressing the renewal of the outline planning permission, and then what we've termed there as the need and demand analysis, and a refresh of costs, and again also some refresh of previous stakeholder engagement back in 2018, and we've also undertaken a study visit to the new crematorium that opened about 18 months ago now in Antrim and Newton Abbey Borough Council, which by all accounts has been a very positive experience for the council and for residents in that area. So the review process that we've undertaken recently has concluded that there is sufficient latent need and demand, and we are now progressing to appoint an integrated consultancy team to prepare a full business case and detailed design. And certainly our expectation is that we'll be able to bring a recommendation in respect of a final investment decision back to members before the end of 2026. And just finally then to note that we have included appropriate financial provision within the medium-term capital plan forecast based on those updated costs that were undertaken in recent months. So members, the report, the recommendation is that council notes the update in respect of the council's municipal cemetery performance in 24-25.
Thank you, John. Councillor McClary.
Thank you. I'd like to propose the recommendations and thank the director for bringing this report to us. During my rounds as chair, I met with a number of different groups from many backgrounds, and they welcome that the council does show consideration for their religious needs when it comes to the burial of their loved ones. So it is noted that we seem to be performing well at that level. When it comes to the crematorium, it was contacted by one religious group who have a problem with crematoriums, and from what I understand, if it had a separate entrance, so we weren't driving into the one entrance to the graveyard and the crematorium, that may alleviate that it is detached from the cemetery, but perhaps we could maybe contact the director and we could talk about that. We're not anywhere near that stage at the moment, but I mean, if it does meet, if it's something that simple to meet some of the requirements of religious groups, we should try and look at that.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yes, thanks, Chair, for letting me in. On that, I'd like to second the recommendations. On the back of that there, just I think it's very good to see this project move forward. It's gaining a lot of interest, and I think it'd be a great asset to the community. And I believe that any work can help maybe other people with other beliefs in that there. I think it'd be very good to see this come into fruition, and it's good to see the other burial spaces for people of the Muslim faith as well. But I'm just wondering, going forward, just with, and it's been mentioned to me in numerous times, and I've never brought it up because I know that it is an issue within the council, and I suppose in this forum, it's to do with gravestones, the height of them, the width of them. I know that some people do like that, and other families would like that, but don't get the opportunity of being in. So I'm just wondering, is there a more positive way forward going with this? Because if we have a policy and it's not fully implemented for everybody, I think that we should change the policy and let people do whatever they want, if you know where I'm coming from.
Okay, do you want to come in there, John?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I suppose, first of all, thank members for the feedback in terms of our cemetery staff, and I know certainly it's one of the services that council provides along with our registry, our registrars, that it's at one of those most difficult times for families, and we do routinely get feedback from families about the dignity with which our staff treat families, and the respect that they show for the bereaved families and for relatives when they come in, when there is a burial or interment at any of our sites, and indeed the standard that the cemeteries are generally kept. And I know certainly that feedback is, it does go back to our staff on the ground, and it is appreciated by all of us in the council, just to be there and provide that service for residents. On the issue of the rules and regulations for the cemeteries, I think we have rules and regulations. They do work. We're aware that there have been, and certainly I know in my time, there have been, I can think of 2 occasions whenever there have been unauthorised memorials installed, and in each occasion what we do is we try to engage in the first instance with the because it's not the families generally themselves who go in and install these unauthorised memorials. It'll be somebody acting on their behalf. So we engage with memorial sculptors. We provide training for them to make sure that they're aware of what the rules and regulations are. And the overwhelming majority of those contractors engage very positively with us. On occasions, whenever there have been unauthorised memorials then installed, so we engage in the first instance with the family to come to explain the rules and reach an agreement with them that complies with the rules. We're aware that it can be sensitive. There are, families have aspirations, around what they would like to install. I don't think we would anticipate that would be a solution or a way forward would be to review our rules and regulations. They do work, and our preferred approach, and the approach that we continue to implement, is to work through any occasions where there has been an unauthorised installation to make sure that we come up with a solution which is compliant with the rules and regulations. We do appreciate, and I know members will be aware of, that can take time, but it's trying to come up with a solution that works for the family, but ultimately one that must be compliant with the rules and regulations.
Yeah, thank you, John. Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, just on the back of what the director's after saying about the memorials, I think with regard to enforcement of the rules, the council needs to be firmer on that. So they do, and I'm not going to go into specifics on this, John, but you know what I'm talking about. And there is a lot of people that aren't overly happy at the moment with regards to the council, and with regard to the cemetery, especially at Cross Cemetery, with the people are staying within the rules and doing the thing right, and they see other things going on and the council not acting on it, and it is causing a lot of heartache out there for families, because it's they're seeing it as they've worked by the rules and done what the council have asked them to do, and then when things happen and the council don't act and are yes, they are acting on it, but it's a perception out there. People are saying that things aren't being removed, and this is causing issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You want to come in again, John?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, it was only just, and Councillor Elliott, I appreciate your comments, and I know we have spoken about this. And so I would just want to take this opportunity, if there was any public perception that there was a lack of council action on this matter, just certainly to reassure members at the committee tonight and members more generally that we are acting on, where there is an unauthorised memorial, a non-compliant memorial, we do act and we do move to enforce a compliant solution as quickly as possible.
Thank you, John. Councillor Maguire? Oh, sorry.
Margaret Carty, thanks for that. Just on the back of that, John, as we're all aware in Enniskillen of the problem, and some of us are in the council long enough to remember the very distressing concerns people had way back 10, 12 years ago about the initial proposals of the council at Cross Cemetery. We're all aware of what's out there now that obviously doesn't conform with the regulations at the time. I wonder, would it be possible to maybe, and it probably would need a confidential report maybe for the next meeting, to give us a clear indication of what the steps the council are taking. I know it, obviously if people come to us with concerns, we can then maybe relay the facts of the figures, as opposed to, as Councillor Elliott says, the perception is that one rule for one and another rule for another. So maybe if you could propose that, Chair.
Okay, can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Brown, all agreed? Okay, and the main paper was proposed by Councillor McClory, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald, and we're all agreed with that?
Chair, can I come back? Sorry, I didn't hand
Oh,
over.
yes, sorry, go on ahead, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Apologies, Chair, it's only a supplementary to that. On the back of what Tommy has said there, also came over a report of the number of what was perceived by the officers as overly large gravestones or sort of like gravestones, which is causing concern or which doesn't sort of be compatible to other graves which other people have to by. If we can bring to the graveyards as well, please.
Yeah, non-compliant, I think is what we're, do you want to come in, John?
Yeah, no, Chair, sorry. So that was my understanding of what Councillor Maguire was suggesting, that it would be a confidential report on non-compliant headstones and what measures or what steps were taken then to resolve those.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, now item 7.2, to note report of Director of Environment and Place, paper G. That's John again.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry, members, just two items in this, both for information. The first is the written update on, if you'll recall, given a verbal update at the last Environment Services Committee on refuse collection related complaints. So section 2.1 is just a restatement of what I covered at last month's meeting. And then at 2.2, it's an update on Environment Services Committee actions in the period January to March 2025. And you can see there's a 100% clearance rate on those. So members, recommendations of the Council notes the updates in respect of refuse collection related complaints 24-25 and the Environment Services Committee actions January to March 2025.
Thank you, John. Councillor McClory.
Thank you. Propose the noting of the report. Wondering if you give me a slight bit of latitude.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering, whilst we're going through the transformation, there's a few people who are having misbinned incidents, and one of the residents wondered, rather than leaving their bin out continuous days until it's collected, is there any way that our app would be updated if their bin was likely to be lifted that day? I'm not sure if that's possible or not, but they were wondering if the app could be updated, the bin Ovation app. I know not everybody uses technology, but they thought it would be useful if they were missed, that the bin Ovation app could be updated.
Yeah. Want to come in there, John?
Okay. So thank the member for this question. In respect of bins that are missed, I suppose one of the things, and we have been given this significant level of attention within the team over the last number of weeks in particular. What I would distinguish between, and certainly at the start of April compared to at the start of May, at the start of April, we know that there were days when there were bins that weren't being missed, and it was taking a number of days before we were able to collect those. Our message at that stage to residents was continue to present the bin in the usual location, and we'll get to it as quickly as possible. What we have now got the situation is that there are a number of routes where we will be looking at what we're terming as remodeling those routes, and the situation we now find ourselves in is that the bin may not be collected at the time that residents have been used to. So when some of these bin for years has been lifted at 10:30 in the morning, we may not lift that bin at 10:30 on a Wednesday morning. But what we're endeavouring to do in as many cases as possible is collect that bin on Wednesday. So the scheduled collection day, the bin still being lifted on the scheduled collection day, and in the number of, and it's a relatively small number of cases where the bin isn't collected on the scheduled collection day, that it's left out and it is collected then on the next working day. So invariably that's the following day. Certainly we'll look at the idea if there's any changes to routes on a scheduled collection day. I think that's the point at when we would look maybe at updating the Binovation app. And as I said, more generally then we're looking at, what other councils are doing in terms of more instant messaging out to residents. We're aware of one council that's looking at new in-cab technology, which will ultimately allow text messages to be sent directly to a resident if their bin wasn't lifted on a particular day, and give a reason for that and when it's likely to be collected. So there are technological solutions to improve the communications. They're not quick fixes, but we are looking and doing that wider horizon scanning as to sort of how do we improve that messaging and connection out to residents. But for now, our message is continue to present your bin. We will endeavour to get to it on the normal scheduled collection day, and if it's not lifted on that day, that we will endeavour to get to it as quickly as possible, and normally that's now the following day. But I can't give 100% assurance that happens in every circumstance.
We'll come back in there, John.
Yeah, just to thank the director for that update and the technology. I think that would be very welcome. I think it's some days it's the most exciting thing in your day is to leave the bin down the lane and bring it back up again, but then it becomes boring when you have to do it a couple of days. So I think it would be just the whole excitement of it all would be very good.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, nobody else indicating that's proposed by Councillor McClarry. Going to get a seconder? Councillor McGrath. All agreed? Thank you. Now, item 8, correspondence. 8.1 to no correspondence dated 17th of April 2025 from Northern Ireland Environment Agency regarding Culca Mountain Area of Special Scientific Interest. Going to come in there, John, or just for noting? Just for noting. So just get a proposer, Councillor Feely.
Yeah, propose to note.
Propose to note, and a seconder, Councillor Brough. Okay. Item 8.2 to note correspondence dated 25th of April 2025 from Post Office Limited regarding Timor Road, BT 92 9QF. Do you want to come in, John, or just?
Chair, only to say, I suppose, I know we've had one or two of these previously in the council in the last couple of years. It's a notification which comes out from Post Office invariably, and I think it's the case in this one where a postmaster or postmistress has retired, and Post Office have determined that there isn't an ongoing need for the service, and they're not intending to replace it. So this is the term it's a consultation, but it's essentially a notice of an intended closure date. I think the consultation period, and if members wish to share the consultation notice on their own social media, it runs for another week or two. I'm not sure how successful it ever is in changing Post Office intention, but certainly the link is available online if members wish to share that, just to raise awareness amongst their constituents.
Thank you,
but other
John.
than that, it's just a note.
Thank you. Proposer and seconder to note. Proposed by Councillor Bruff, Councillor Robinson seconded. Thank you. The next item to note, correspondence dated 29th of April 2025 from the Division of Roads Manager, Western Division, regarding county boundary signage. Do you want to come in, John?
Sure, just very simply, it's just correspondence to note, but in noting it, I would maybe just point out, members will see themselves that the question that we had asked DFI was if any legacy government department had previously been responsible for the installation of county boundary signage. Certainly, that question hasn't actually been answered, but the DFI have reaffirmed that they're certainly not responsible, and certainly in their view. Helpfully, what they have indicated whenever this was discussed at council previously, we've said that the council would continue to explore any opportunities for the installation of boundary signage, and we will certainly continue to do that as when those circumstances arise. And DFI have indicated that they would be happy to work with council in that regard should funding become available at some point in the future. But what I would just maybe want to correct is the last line in the DFI letter, where Division of Roads Manager has suggested that county boundary signs are the responsibility of local councils. I've said that's not my understanding. It wouldn't be the understanding of any of my colleagues. It is not a responsibility. I know that within DFI's legislation, there's provision that councils may install tourism signage, but the county boundary signs that were discussed in this forum previously were not tourism-related signs. These were simply demarcation lines at boundary points. So I think it's maybe just to correct that view that's been expressed in the DFI correspondence that anyway county boundary signs are the responsibility of local councils. That's incorrect, but I say probably welcome the fact that DFI will work with us if there was funding to become available.
Thank you, John. Proposer and seconder to note. Councillor Robinson, Councillor McLaury. Thank you. Okay, and there's no other items of correspondence. So item 9, any urgent and relevant business, and I have one item, and that's with Councillor McGrath. If you want to come in there.
Thank you, Chair. Last Friday evening, down at the Gorge and Dens Forest Park, there was the boy racers were back, and I don't mean to be sounding like a broken record, but this is the third time I've mentioned this in 2 years, and there doesn't seem to be any progress, or very small progress. The big difference this time was that they were there early, around 7 o'clock. We're still members of the public using the facility, and people were kind of felt a wee bit threatened and intimidated. The police were called, and I'm just wondering, was there any communication, John, from the PSNI, or any communication? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. You want to come in, John?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, the member, as we're aware of the antisocial behaviour, and certainly we'd received a report ourselves from residents, from a member of the public. We're aware that it was reported to the police, and the members quite rightly noted that this has been an ongoing challenge. I mean, and I suppose probably worth just highlighting some of the things that the council has done. There's been additional signage installed. There was the no return plates that were installed at the top exits, and at the scenic drive exit. We've looked at the automatic gate at the entrance in terms of closing, being able to close the park at certain times. But as the member notes, on this occasion, the antisocial driving, the dangerous driving, maybe suggesting, I know that's possibly not the correct legal term, but it was certainly antisocial behaviour. It was at an earlier time. It was reported to the police. We have also, and we are continuing to go through a process to install CCTV cameras throughout the park. And again, we've been through that, looking at the options in that regard, and what's likely to be most effective to deter the sort of behaviour that we're seeing, which is completely unacceptable, and particularly as we come in now to the brighter nights. So the Rangers are aware of it. I suppose what I would say is that, as I understand it, the damage that was caused to the car park was skid marks. It was donuts in the upper car park. I suppose all you can say is thankfully there was nobody hurt. There were no accidents either to the property, the vehicles, or God forbid to pedestrians. And I suppose what it does is it brings home just the importance of that, having appropriate separation between vehicles and pedestrians in an area like that. So we are aware of the issue. We are continuing to act. We do engage with the police, and I think it was the correct actions were taken. That it was antisocial driving. That the report did go out to the PSNI. Now I'm not sure sort of what the response was in that regard, but certainly that is our messaging. The residents that if they witness antisocial behaviour like that it should be reported to the PSNI. I know the PSNI have previously stepped up reports and drive-bys, around the scenic drive and indeed through the park at certain times. It's they can't be there 24/7. We appreciate that, but whenever we do get the reports in, I say it's important that they are then fed back to the police.
Thank you, John. Happy enough, Bernard? Sorry.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Chair. No, thank you, John, for that. No, it was just mentioned to you about, if there was more of a presence, from rangers or council staff, that it might deter this from happening. This is one of the most visited tourist attractions in our area, and there's nobody really there kind of managing it or kind of looking after it, or, just like a presence that might deter these people from doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald, do you want to come in on that item?
Yes, and thanks a lot. Bernard just asked a question that I was going to ask, just that can there be more presence, especially in the longer evenings, with this great weather, boy racers or girl racers, whoever it is, they're very opportunistic and they nip in and nip out very quickly, and I feel that maybe definitely more presence should be out there. It is a high visited spot, but I don't want to put anybody in danger as well. Do you know what I mean? Because rangers can't stop them. Would otherwise the more visible presence. They can't stop them. And just maybe too, as John had said, a more proactive approach of maybe the police that they can come back out. So it is a worry, and sadly, I know the council will continue to be proactive in it, but it's just something we have to keep our mind on it. And as soon as the residents know or ourselves know, it's just to keep contacting the police. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. John, if anything happened in this, who's responsible then? The council are responsible, or?
If an accident happens,
yeah.
Well, ultimately, council is we're the leaseholder with a long-term lease for recreational purposes of Gortin Glen from Forest Service. So yes, I mean, if accidents occur on Gortin Glen within the property or the area of the property that we control, then I think the claim was in the first instance is likely to be against our public liability insurances. So it's, we do everything that's reasonably practical. Ultimately, these are parks and open spaces, and particularly large forest parks. The ambition and the aim is to have public access as far as possible. We have instigated controls around signage, around raising awareness, and around closure times and barriers. And as I said, we're looking now at CCTV, and I think Councillor Fitzgerald's comment about that these are largely opportunistic, and people in the past have come in as unauthorised access outside of ours, and so having somebody there 24/7 is not practical. So in the installation and the placement of CCTV, those are the solutions I think that we will continue to look at and capture footage, so that if we capture footage and it's able to identify a vehicle, that then we can provide that information to the police to help with any enforcement actions that they may be able to take.
Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Chair. It's just with with respect to Councillor McGrath. I know this has been going on for quite some time, but is there a timeline when the installation of CCTV will be fitted? I think that would be helpful.
Chair, we have been just working through the process around the privacy impact assessments and identifying the suitable location. I think one of the challenges, given the opportunistic nature of this antisocial behaviour, is that putting a single fixed CCTV isn't going to be the solution, because when you know what's in one location, people will simply avoid that one location. So what we'll be looking at is, and I said, we're taking this into account as part of our privacy impact assessment, is being able to use mobile cameras so that we can detect the incidents where they're happening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that item's been dealt with, so we'll move on now to part 2, confidential matters. Could I get a proposer and seconder to go into committee? Councillor Maguire and Councillor Feely. Do you want to do a recap there, John?
Okay, thank you, Chair. While in confidential business, members considered an estates report in respect of 4 land and asset matters across the district and approved the recommendations as set out within the report.
Thank you, John. Proposer and seconder. Councillor Robinson, Councillor Maguire. All agreed? Okay, thank you. That brings our meeting to a close. Thank you all very much. Yeah, quick year.